All right, here's a progression video of the internal stack on my JR machine coax can. I'm back out at the hunting club today to test the version 3 and version 4 arrangement of the internals, and I wanted to kind of just document the progression and show you guys what I've done to the internals as I've gone through the different versions. So this is basically how it came to me out of the box when I got it from JR Machine as a solvent trap. Of course, there were no holes drilled. I got my Form 1 drilled and single clipped per standard 30 cal specs, whatever they are. I can't remember off the top of my head, but and other than that, I didn't make any changes. So I had a distal spacer 0.6, the second 0.6 spacer creating the last chamber. The big spacer prior to version 2, this was one piece, and I believe it's like 0.85. That's what creates the second chamber, and then the top of the stack was directly on the ASR spacer for like the built-in blast chamber, and that's exactly how it came to me. I don't know if they all ship like this. I think Silencer Students had the first spacer on the proximal end versus the distal end, and I think that's how he tested his starting out. But this is how I got mine, and so this is how I tested it. And the first test was pretty horrible, honestly. It was really loud, maybe barely hearing safe. Surprisingly, it sounded best on my 10.5-inch piston 5.56 AR. 6.5 Creedmoor bolt action was pretty loud. 300 subs and supers were louder than my SIG can. Let's see what else. 6.5 Grendel was louder, and it had like a higher pitched tone or a hiss maybe to it compared to my SIG can, which is probably, I guess it's considered maybe average suppression, a little bit better than average. So anyways, this was version 1, and I knew after I shot it that I had to do something. I wasn't going to be able to leave it like this. So for version 2, I made a couple of mods. The biggest thing I did was port the first solid spacer. I also cut this big spacer and moved the small portion to the distal end. So now I have 3.6 spacers and a 0.25 spacer, roughly. And I rearranged them. So my first solid cone has a port. I've got a 0.6 spacer increasing my blast chamber, and that was giving me like about 0.9 from the tip of the Xeno muzzle brake to the blast baffle. And I increased my distal chamber by about 0.25, which before was just basically the internal volume of that last cone, because the end cap is solid base, so there's no additional volume from the end cap. So this was version 2, shot it like this, and it sounded better. I think the tone was a little bit better, maybe a little bit quieter. I didn't get any kind of discomfort in my ears on the same host. It was a different day, but same ammo, about the same temperature, and everything else. Today, the primary difference is going to be it's probably 20 or 25 degrees warmer outside today. So today we're going to be testing version 3 and version 4